gentlemen, Your Excellency, Mr. Chairman, Chief Isi Akonde, the panelists here, Dr. Danladi Bako, Otumba Sheikh Ranswe. I also want to salute the families of the former, the premiers, first premiers of the country, who formed this whole concept of universal education. I understand that Her Excellency Professor Mrs. Suchi Azikiwe is here. I also greet the families, the representatives of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the foundation member of this universal education, the founder of this universal education, and also Alhaji Ahmadu Bello, represented here. I greet Alhaji Lai Mohammed. I also greet representatives of governors here and distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Let's change the field, change it to NC3.
Well, this public lecture, I must really applaud independent newspapers for thinking it right to have a discussion about universal education, considering where we are in our country about education. So it is, as said, it will be unusually brief. I have agreed with the organizers that that I will touch on a couple of critical issues and leave them with a panel of experts who happen to be here. I may intervene if needed here and there. Education represents progress. The most fundamental difference between the developed nations and the developing ones is the level and quality of education. The leading African-American civil rights activist, Ella J. Baker, who passed away in 1986, but was really born in 1903, because she lives quite long, famously quipped, "Show the light, and the people will find the way." So this speech is, what I'm speaking is titled, "Show the light, and the people will find the way." That's what it is. The great Sheikh of Africa reflected this statement in his Renaissance Africa, and also made it the motto of his crusading West African Pilots newspaper when it was founded in 1937. The launch of free universal primary education in Western region by Chief Obafemi Awolowo government on January 17, 1955 was a most important development in our nation's history. It led to massive enrollment figures in schools in the Western region. When General Olusegun Obasanjo government launched a similar scheme in the mid-1970s, there was an unprecedented upsurge in primary school enrollment throughout the Federation. In 1979, when the Unity Party of Nigeria controlled Lagos, Oyo, Ogun, Ondo, and Bendel states, and launched the Universal Primary Education Program, school enrollment figures rose quite rapidly. People who were already approaching 20 years of age return to primary school, showing that poverty was a major impediment in education. I would not have gone beyond primary school, but for the tradition and benevolence and solidarity in my extended family system. In that system, children who showed promise were supported by family members who could. My father supported my uncle, Basil, to go to school, and my uncle rose to become a primary school headmaster. He in turn supported me in primary school. Another uncle, Clement, who was supported in the same way and became a bank manager, also supported us. And that's how we have grown. Family supporting one another. Doesn't necessarily mean that the particular family doesn't have, but it is something that all of us did together. And if you look at the universal education, it is that concept that governments and people join together to ensure that all the children are so educated. Mine was Catholic school, but because the missionaries controlled school system in the then Eastern region. But nonetheless, the concept had been established, and I will talk a little bit about that. So I thank the management and staff of independent newspapers for commemorating the 70th anniversary of free universal education system in Nigeria. It was launched when there were only 3 regions in Nigeria, and the regions were in healthy rivalry. The Western region was the richest. Its main revenues earner, cocoa, was commanding high prices in international markets. Chief Awolowo, an education lover, had the vision to implement it. Besides, he had experienced hardship when he was growing up, which affected his educational pursuits. Like me, he lost his father early. Awo's love of education was such that, despite earning a degree in commerce from the University of London at home, which was a very important achievement in those days, he left his family behind to travel to England to study law. As he wrote in a letter published by Delegiwa's Sunday Concord in September 1980, Chief Awolowo read law to enable him to be eloquent, as he thought at the time, like the great Zik, after watching Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe address meetings of the Nigerian youth movement in Lagos. The rivalry between Nigerian nationalists did not prevent Chief Awolowo from launching his historic Tribune newspapers, Nigeria's oldest surviving newspaper, on November 16, 1949, Zik's 45th birthday. What lesson can the present generation of Nigerians learn from our nationalists? It was predictable that the launch of free universal education in the West was going to spur the Eastern Nigerian region to declare free education. Free education in the East was, however, a qualified success. As President Jimmy Carter of the United States would put it, a qualified success. It was fiercely opposed by the Catholic Church, which owned or managed most schools, including all primary and secondary schools that I attended. Besides, there were not enough public schools, buildings, and facilities. So Eastern region was by far the poorest of the 3 regions because palm produce, its main revenue earner, was fetching modest revenue. It could not grapple with the challenges of free universal education. But as I've noted, this was a period of healthy competition among the component groups of the Nigerian Federation. When Grade 6 couldn't do through the what you couldn't do through the free primary or through free education, they tried to make up through other strategies. For instance, he inspired and motivated communities to embrace education with gusto. They mobilized funds to award scholarships to promising community members, a practice which was captured in Achebe's No Longer at Ease. The result was that between 1945 and 1965, before the crisis of Nigeria, the region had wiped out their educational handicap. So the region, the East had begun to compete in the same way with the West, and the North had also queued in. I want to say that the model which Zeke used in the East is what we, even in our family, began to use, which is the families would support free education. And so my family supports the creation of free education for nursery, primary, and secondary school in our community. And it has been very, very helpful. The healthy competition continued after independence, when Eastern Region inaugurated the University of Nigeria at Nsukka in 1960. Western Region launched the University of Ife in 1962. And Northern Region commissioned later the same year the University of Northern Nigeria at Zaria, which eventually the name was changed to Ahmadu Bello University in honor of the Sardauna. This is healthy rivalry we would expect from states because it makes for rapid national progress. So we ask, why is it not happening today? So, you know that when even Chief Jim Obodo launched Anambra State University of Science and Technology, Governor Melford Okilo responded with Rivers State University of Science and Technology. And Governor Lateef Jakonde set up the Lagos State University. And the graduates are of very high quality from these schools. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to mark the 70th anniversary of free universal education in Nigeria. This is good. For countries like Germany have prospered through free education at all levels. Our nationalists who led us to independence had a good educational foundation for us. The main challenge facing us now, where do we go from here? What is the future of education in Nigeria? On September 23 this year, at the annual Fafunwa Memorial Lecture that I came to speak about, Fafunwa, Professor Aliyu Fafunwa, CONNM, former Minister of Education, had done so much in education. So at that lecture, I called attention to the imperative of embracing artificial intelligence in our education system starting from primary school. But I wondered how our pupils could be taught artificial intelligence, even in secondary school, with most rural communities, in the rural communities, the teachers are not computer literate. I therefore propose that the federal government, all state governments, and all the 774 local government areas in the country to jointly work on pulling funds together to ensure that every teacher in these communities have access to computers. They should really have computers. So President Obasanjo's administration did something similar in a way, because they were able to pool funds to provide each divisional police officer in the country with a Toyota Prado SUV to enhance security nationwide. But we also have to remember that there was such a time that we had, that we produced vehicles. I was talking with my colleagues earlier. We produced vehicles in Nigeria, and all of the top government officials rode in them. When I was Minister of Science and Technology in the early 90s, my vehicles were Peugeot vehicles. And even the head of state at the time drove in a Peugeot car. Think of what the foreign exchange will look like if we did that, and how it could impact in providing what I'm talking about, these computers. How much do we spend in purchasing vehicles for public officers at the federal level, at state level, and local government levels? Just think about that. So, I want to say that the AI, it's not just like a craze. It's not like a .com phenomenon that will just go away. It's here to stay. And Nigeria would need to be part of it. For Nigeria to be part of it, then the computing technology needs to be available. I personally, when I finished my doctorate in America, I went to MIT to take a program in artificial intelligence and robotics. And it certainly was the foundation of a lot of research I did as a professor in America. And I'll tell you, it's not going away. What it is manifesting, and our people need to be very much in the vanguard of this. But the only way is computer technology. So lastly, I would like the panelists to spare some moments on the quality of education in public, primary, and secondary schools. When I traveled to the United States in 1977, my studies in physics, mathematics, and engineering, I did well. And the only reason why I did well was that I went to schools that provided me the background. And I can tell you that those of us who went to school at that time, many of my colleagues are here, cannot be said to be disadvantaged in comparison to those who are in the Western countries. I also have to tell you that many Chinese, Indian, and other Asian students come to, when I was a professor in America, they come to study with us. But it was because their grounding was of the same quality, similar to what we have. So at the University of Massachusetts, we'll take a student from the Indian Institute of Technology who had first class, and there is such a thing as first class with distinction, and those are the people that we bring there, and they will just be first class in the university. We can continue to have the same thing. We used to have it, so it's not our brain. It is actually what we do to provide that quality education now that matters. And so both the government and the private sector need to do it. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we must see education as the fundamental instrument of development. We, that is both the government and us citizens, must do everything in our capacity to give it free to all of our children. I thank Your Excellencies, the management and staff of independent newspapers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for your time. God bless you.
Please, can you give Professor Bath Naji another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? That was a succinct lecture, ably capturing from the historical to the present day and the need for us to involve and move forward, making use of AI in our present day.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I start from the representative of Mr. President, maybe the future woman president of Nigeria. You're welcome. Professor Naji and the panelists, the distinguished, let me say distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Maybe I should have been introduced as one of the pioneering teachers of the 1955 free primary education. Education has conflicting definitions. However, for the purpose of our present discourse, education may be viewed in the context of Nigeria's stage of development 70 years ago, and may be defined with perception and practice as learning by apprenticeship and by imitation. This definition was more applicable in the most rural parts of Nigeria, and particularly then in the Western region, which consisted mostly of rural communities where education through the institutionalized learning, such as what is now known as schools and classified curricula, was very scanty and scattered. Learning through schools and similar institutions then was complicated and confusing to the illiterate parents who, in most parts of Western region, especially because of the existence of numerous madrasa institutions for Muslim children, faced the free education reforms to further compound the complications and the confusions. The Free Universal Education Project, originally proposed in 1953 by Obafemi Awolowo's Action Group government, was to be compulsory, along with sanctions of imprisonment for defaulting parents. It is unfortunate, however, that the progress of such purposeful education as then established became stultified and bastardized by the military intervention in the Nigerian governance. Before the military forcefully imposed themselves as the government of Nigeria, most of all the educational institutions were being methodically established and scrupulously managed by the various diligent educationists among the religious and individual proprietors. There were 4 autonomous regions, each of which was free to decide on its educational policies. These proprietally established and managed schools were appropriately and duly being grant-aided to accommodate the facilities of whatever type of scholarship and whatever type of free education desired by each of the regional governments that had policies for free education at various levels. Suddenly, these various institutions of learning were forcefully taken over and appropriated by the federal military government in 1976. And these suddenly snatched educational institutions were being handed over to the numerous new states that was being created with new governments and new civil service structures, having no proper trainings and experiences in institutional proprietorship. The various governments became overburdened and overwhelmed by the responsibilities of this expanded modeled facility. Hence, the present decay being experienced in educational infrastructure, in learning curricula, and in teaching methodology. To celebrate the remnant of the numerous innovations derived from such educational revolutions, which began 70 years ago, is the reason why we now assemble here tonight. I sincerely thank and congratulate Independent Newspapers Limited for bringing us together as a reminder that universal comprehensive education at all levels is the most important asset for man to be truly independent in any decent society and in a worthy independent country. Long live the Independent Newspapers Limited. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Ably represented here today by the Executive Secretary, Universal Basic Education Commissioner, Aisha Garba. Please, can you give her a round of applause? That's the President. Thank you very much.
The Chairman, His Excellency Chief B.C. Akande, representatives of Excellencies, Governors of Kogi, Enugu, Nasarawa, Taraba, Lagos, Ogun, Anambra. The Managing Director, Independent Newspaper, the management and staff, representative of Sir Ahmedu Bello family, the representatives of Chief Nnamdi Azikiwe family, representatives of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, other dignitaries, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is a profound honor to join you at this historic event organized by the Independent Newspapers Limited to mark 70 years of free universal primary education in Nigeria. 70 years ago in Ibadan, Chief Obafemi Awolowo declared that every Nigerian child, regardless of their circumstances, must have free access to primary education. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe carried the torch to the East in 1957, while Sir Ahmadu Bello extended it to the North in 1960. What began as a regional policy became a national covenant. Our founding fathers did not merely launch a program or a policy. They defined a national identity that Nigeria's greatness is rooted in the enlightenment and education of all. Tonight, we honor that bold vision and the tradition it established. For 7 decades, classrooms built with public funds and sustained by the dedication of our teachers have opened doors of opportunities to millions of Nigerians within and outside the country. Free primary education has served as a ladder out of poverty and bridge to dignity for countless of families across the country. Anniversaries summon us to fidelity. The torch lit in Ibadan must not dim. It is the duty of every government to renew that covenant that education, schooling is the right of every Nigerian child. Under this administration, that renewal has a name, the Renewed Hope Agenda. It is not a slogan, but the organizing principle of this particular administration to make education once again the engine of national renewal, the guarantor of equal citizenship, and the path to shared prosperity. We honor the foresight of Awolowo, Azikiwe, and Ahmadu Bello. We celebrate the teachers and parents who kept faith in their vision. And we declare that this generation will finish what they began. Our success will not be measured by promises, but by the future secured in every community, in every local government, and in every state. Today, education is no longer an aspiration, but it's Nigeria's common inheritance. Our charge is to make it a reality, consistently, transparently, for every Nigerian child. We must face the truth with courage while celebrating this milestone. Nigeria is home to more than 230 million people, Africa's largest population, and one of the youngest in the world, with 70% of our citizens under the age of 30. If we equip this generation with the foundational knowledge and the necessary skills, they will become the drivers of innovation and productivity for decades. At the same time, the advances in digital technology provide us with the opportunity for higher quality education. The machine learning, artificial intelligence are opening new frontiers for transformation in teaching and learning globally. For Nigeria, it provides a unique opportunity to accelerate progress and close the long-standing gaps. Education is not just a social service. It is a national security imperative, economic growth strategy, and it is a moral duty. Every naira we invest in education is an investment in Nigeria's future. Our youth are our greatest asset, but also our most significant test. We cannot stand by while our children are out of school. We must guarantee access and learning. We must deliver quality and equity. Anything less will betray the covenant made 70 years ago. When I assumed office, I declared that our government will place education at the foundation of our national rebirth. Under the Renewed Hope agenda, education now stands at the center of policy, financing, and governance. For too long, the sector was fragmented. Agencies worked in silos and uncoordinated. That era has ended. Through the Nigeria Education Sector Renewal Initiative of the Federal Ministry of Education, every parastatal, UBEC, Universal Basic Education Commission, TED Fund, NCCE, NERDC, NEL Fund are all aligned under one sector plan, under one vision, under a clear budget. We also confronted the hard truth that Nigeria lacked reliable education data. That is why we launched the Nigeria Education Data Initiative at the Federal Ministry of Education, our first real-time national data platform. Data has become our tool of accountability. Today, we are working to know all the children that are enrolled, all the children that are out of school, where our teachers are, and how teachers and schools are performing. The Universal Basic Education Commission has evolved from a grand administrator to true system reformer, guided by its strategic blueprint, which focuses on increasing equitable access in all parts of Nigeria, improved quality learning, stronger financing, and institutional reform nationwide. Basic education reform also includes the revise of the federal government matching grant formula, which provides states with greater flexibility to address specific education gaps and build accountable system in using education funds. For the first time in more than 20 years, the Basic Education Action Plan has been revised, allowing states to access the federal government grant and plan effectively, and to be digitally tracked and transparent in effective implementation and delivery of basic education services. As a result of these reforms, within a year, more than 28 states have accessed 70% of the unaccessed funds that have been laid for many years at the federal government. These funds have now been unlocked to accelerate further investments in education to improve access and quality in every state and every local government. We have doubled the government budgetary allocation, and we have mobilized development financing for education, reaching children across all parts of Nigeria. Development partners, state governments, parents, teachers, other key stakeholders, they continue to play invaluable roles in basic education. These reforms are already showing visible results. Within 2 years, over 500,000 teachers are being trained on pedagogical methodologies to improve quality teaching to our children. More than 20 million that are within the basic education sector in Nigeria are being positively impacted with the ongoing interventions. We have rolled out a new national school curriculum for basic education, which reintroduces history and the study of Nigerian languages to strengthen national identity and foster unity. Over 10,000 classrooms are being built, and over 1,935,000 classrooms are being renovated. We have distributed over 1 million textbooks nationwide. Through NELFund, 600,000 young Nigerians have secured financing, and they can now pursue higher education without fear of exclusion. Opportunity is no longer tied to family wealth. This year, we're investing millions in technical vocational education training, with 38 new technical colleges established. By 2030, 5 million youth will be trained as artisans, technicians, and coders. This shows how this administration is honoring the covenant of 1955 with reform, with systematic renewal, and with proof and impact on the ground. The promise made in 1955 did not belong to one region. It became the conscience of a nation. Today, that promise is alive in every zone, adapted to local realities, delivered through state leadership, and measured by results. Inclusion will be paramount. Exclusion will be treated as an emergency. From the girl child to the child with disability, to the child that is out of school, from the displaced learner to the rural child, every Nigerian child and citizen must find a place in classroom. 70 years ago, our founding fathers lit a torch of mass education. It has never dimmed, and with God on our side, it will only get brighter. Under the Renewed Hope agenda, we recommit to that covenant. Every Nigerian child must be in school, must learn, and must be prepared for a life of dignity and opportunity. We declare this as our national duty. Let history record that we did not merely celebrate the 1955, but honored its mandate, turning the era of free education into living reality of learning for all. Let the world say of Nigeria, here is a nation that made education the heartbeat of its democracy, the cornerstone of its economy, and the soul of its future. Thank you, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Please, can you give Mr. President another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much, ma'am, for delivering that speech very well. A few words or few phrases.
We've all eulogized our three founding fathers, Awolowo, Azikiwe, and Ahmadu Bello. We've all eulogized them this evening because of what they did in education. And my plea with our current leaders that they should copy the footsteps of our founding fathers. I know the arguments will come, demographies are not the same, the other one, and so on. But I would say the source of income or generation or generating revenue in those days are not the same now. We now have oil, we have all the mineral resources in every corner of Nigeria. Let us harvest those God-blessed mineral resources and allocate a lot more money for education, right from universal basic primary to the university level. I was happy when technical school was introduced currently. I'm a teacher, a retired teacher, right from primary school to the university. So I don't know why we should not produce the future leaders. The young ones are the future leaders. How are they going to lead? Awolowo was educated, Azikiwe was educated, Ahmadu Bello was educated. You can't bring in someone who is not educated to lead, to learn what? How? I am sure that we have archives. Please, may our current leaders go to the archives and don't stop. That program, it might not be the same way, the same pattern and everything. Because as the representative of the president said, or is it the first lady, the population now is 230 million. But that does not stop us from improving on what they left for us. The three founding fathers left a great legacy on education, and we will not allow it to die. It will be a shame on us, the present leaders, if our children don't go to school, if there is no technical school. There were special technical schools in different locations, at least in the eastern region where I grew up. If you can't go to primary, you go to technical school, then building, carpentry, and so on and so forth. You don't have to come and start in white-collar job. No. There are other things you can do to survive in Nigeria. I beg and pray that all our leaders now should try to leave a legacy so that 50 years to come, or another 70 years, an institution like the Independent newspaper will come up to honor them as our founding fathers before independence are being honored today. Let me also use this opportunity to express our gratitude to the Independent newspaper. I was taken aback when you called me and said, this is what the newspaper wants to do. For these three founding fathers of education in Nigeria. And I said, even though my schedule is tight, this is a big honor. I'll be there. So I pray that other newspapers, other institutions will follow the footsteps of independent newspapers. Honor our founding fathers. Honor those who have achieved something, who have left legacies for us to learn. Thank you very much.